Thank you all for attending this ControlUp Community Meetup number 4. This is our 4th meetup, and I'm really looking forward to this one. We have Guy Leech with us, and if you don't know Guy, you're missing out. He's an extremely intelligent person. Has been in this industry a very long time. He's has a great story about early AppSense. He's one of the guys that originally wrote the thing. The first idea of AppSense came out of Guy Leech. He's super funny and really a community person at heart. He's always happy to share. So I couldn't be happier to have him with us. And he's definitely a scripting guru. So script, I love him because I think the power to script something, the power to extend something, to automate it, gives us the power to do anything and everything. And at ControlUp, we have that in spades. So let's learn a little bit about this, or let's learn a lot. Let's go 0 to hero with Guy Leech. What do you think, Guy? Is that what we're going to do today?
It sounds like a plan, possibly cunning even.
Perfect. So real quick, if you're not a ControlUp community member, please join us. The ControlUp community is all about you. We do things like this. You can join us. We have a Slack community. You can ask us anything, get answers quick. You can also stay up to date with the products. I don't know if you know this, but almost weekly, ControlUp releases new features within our products. And do you know this? And if you do you know what the features are? Well, if you're a member of the community, you'll find out. We post them right then and there. And you can even ask questions. So if you so what does this do? Why is this? How does this work? I have this problem. All that's there at your fingertips inside the ControlUp community. But we also do events. You can sign up for the betas. You can see which follow the latest QB articles. So much. Please come and join us. ControlUpCommunity.com/community or www.controlupcommunity.com. The first time I've ever said that publicly. ControlUpCommunity.com. It's live now. Don't know if you know that, Guy. I haven't announced it yet, but it is live.
Oof.
The look on your face is priceless.
Well, one of my faces anyway.
So we have 1,200 members, over 1,200 members now. I'm rambling. Let's just get on to this. Oh, wait a second. We do have a next meetup. So like I said, we have tons of meetups coming, tons of events in the future. The next one's going to be really great. Also, we have another former AppSense person. There are a lot of AppSense people over this world. You know that guy? I don't know what the deal is, but you guys multiplied. It was like an incubator of people that went and took over the EUC space.
Yeah, I worked with John in the 1990s.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? So John Wallace, the ControlUp CTO, he's going to come and talk to us, sort of share his vision. Give him an hour. If you don't know John, this guy's as dynamic and charismatic as they come, and extremely smart. So give him an hour. Listen to the sort of the vision, the ramblings of a CTO, and there's not much more fun that you can have than do that and have John. So it's even more of a pleasure. So that's on July 25th. I hope you guys will join us for that. So no further ado, Guy, you ready?
Oh, are we doing it today?
Yeah, what today, right now?
Oh, yeah, go on then.
Okay. You're an old pro. This is no problem.
Let me share my screen thing.
You go ahead and share your screen. Thank you all again for attending. If you have any questions, please use the questions piece of go to webinar. I always say that. The questions piece of Zoom. So use that little Zoom down there. And I look forward to this event. Guy, thank you for doing this, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Doug. Okay, well, what it won't be is a product demo because I don't do that. I'm the scripting guy. So what I really want to show you is how scripting fits into the ControlUp product, how you can use it even outside of the ControlUp product. There may or may not be the occasional joke in there, but I'm too serious a guy for that, really. So you can see my screen, hopefully. Doug will be representative. Can you see my screen, please, Doug?
Yes, I can. Everything looks great, Guy.
Alrighty, that's so we're seeing the ControlUp console at the moment. Like I said, I'm not really going to dwell on that. It's more a case of what we can do with the scripts from here. So why do we use scripts? Well, it gives us infinite extensibility, really. Infinite, is that overused term? Difficult to say, but it gives us unlimited, let's say unlimited then. Gives us unlimited abilities to extend the product to be able to do lots of things perhaps it wasn't envisaged to do, or perhaps are specific to your environment. You know, if you've got a particular application that needs something doing to it to coax it into working or fix it if it stops working, then you can implement your own scripts in there, or get scripts from the community, and we'll see where to go for those later. And do it all from just point and click. The most important thing is here, you don't need to be a PowerShell scripter to use the power of PowerShell. Well, it doesn't actually need to be PowerShell. If you're a CMD or batch wizard, or even VBS, you haven't come to the joys of PowerShell, then we can put those scripts into the console as well and run them all from this single place, which is pretty cool. So what sorts of things? Well, we have a built-in script library. We can get to it from this button here, where we can see that we have a number of, in fact, we can, if I scroll down, there's quite a few. Notice some have add scripts against them. So this is going to the actual ControlUp script library that's out there. And so these are all officially released scripts, not just from myself, some from other ControlUp people, some from the community itself, where people have had a need for something, to extend the product, haven't had or that script hasn't existed, so they've gone and written it, and then very good of them shared that with the community afterwards. And once we've done a little bit of basic QA to make sure the script doesn't destroy the universe and everything within it, then we can release it to the general population, and so that everybody can benefit from it. Again, that's the whole point of community, and why I've been involved with community in the EUC space for many decades, even though I don't look old enough or smart enough. Okay, so what sort of things can we do? Well, again, we can be very specific technology-wise. So here we can see some VMware Horizon scripts. We can do Citrix. We can start searching. Oh, let's see, what have we got for Citrix? So if I can type Citrix correctly, which I can every now and again, then we can see some which have been, so we can see these tags against them, but also there's full text searches. Analyze the logon duration, otherwise known as ALD. We'll come back to that. That's probably one of the most famous ControlUp scripts, one that I've been responsible. I use the word responsible loosely. At my age, you don't tend to be responsible for things. But it existed long before I got involved with ControlUp, which was back in 2018. So sort of into my 5th year of working at ControlUp now, writing scripts. And the novelty has yet to wear off. Why? Because it's fun. It's like, there's two sides to it, really. There's a guy, can you write a script to do this? As long as it's not reinventing that wheel thing, then I'll have a go at that. But then there's also trying to distill my 20-something years of EUC consultancy and troubleshooting into a script. So the theory is that I can do myself out of a job if I'm good at this. Although 5 years in, perhaps I'm not as good as I thought I was. In that, what I can do is to work out how I would troubleshoot a particular problem, Citrix connection failures or specific errors. Work out how I troubleshoot that manually, turn it into a script, and then get it running inside ControlUp. So basically, you've got lots of mini-me's and other experts in the EUC space running inside of the ControlUp product. A little bit scary. Real intelligence, we call that, not this artificial stuff that's popular all of a sudden. So, script-wise, what can we do? Let's actually run one. That'd be quite exciting, wouldn't it? Well, I use the word exciting loosely. Let's go and run this on this machine, which is one of my Citrix delivery controllers in my home lab here, which is a Dell PowerEdge rack mount server purring away in the garage. aka my private cloud. So we had a use case, which was, okay, so I've got lots of Citrix delivery groups, but a Citrix infrastructure can grow and not be particularly well documented. Talking to a customer today who just inherited a whole load of Citrix environments, 7.6, which is pretty old, so a 2015 timeframe, and don't really know anything about it. So they need to go and do some exploration of it. So for instance, here we have a script. I'm going to show you the anatomy of the script as well, so how it all fits together in a moment. But we can set that script off running. We have some parameters, so it prompts us for those. So we can customize it, use a little bit. So I'm going to say, these are the defaults. So what Citrix delivery groups haven't been used in the last 30 of your Earth days? And do you actually want me to disable those which haven't been used as well, so that we can start to do some retirement and removal of resources that aren't actually being used? Because how do I know what's being used? Well, exactly where this script will come in for you. And things like Citrix Studio won't tell you direct, and maybe with a little bit of cleverness in there, yes, could do. And also it's asking us who to run as. So scripts can generally run as local system, which is the default, which is gives you a great deal of access to the local machine where the script runs. In this case, although my console is running on a server 2016 jump box, it's actually accessing a server 2019. It probably actually says in here somewhere what OS it is, but it would run by default as system. But unless you add local system as an administrator to Citrix Studio, which some schools of thought would say that's not great from a security perspective, then you can get it to run as a shared credential. Again, I won't go into the details of this, but it's just a case of adding it into the ControlUp console. Once you can then share it with other team members if you want, depending on the sensitivity of that account. Here again, we've got a read-only administrator, which has got access to Studio, so no need to give it any more than read-only rights. So it's going to run as that account, so they can access the same delivery controllers that Studio will run on. So without further ado, because there was quite a bit of ado there, that will then go and run. Now, hopefully, if I can make that a bit bigger. Scroll up, because this is my test environment where you can see I've got one or two or several hundred dummy delivery groups. Sorry about the font size here. Hopefully people can read it. You can always use the manual zoom option, which is doing that. So we can see we've got a summary at the top, how many delivery groups we found in my lab environment. Again, it's kind of large scale for bulk testing of stuff, so that when you run scripts in your live environments, there's a better chance that I've actually tested it in a decent scale, rather than, oh look, I've got one delivery group in my home lab with one machine, which isn't really very representative. So of the 319 delivery groups and 606 machines, we can see that 314 have been used in the last 30 days. How do I know? Because we go back and look at the logs, so we can look at when these were last used. So some of these, in fact, these don't actually literally exist within the known universe. They are as virtual can be. So they've never been used. But these we can see have been used at some point in time. So we can see who the last user was, how many days ago. So we can then make informed decisions about, is anybody using this? No, maybe I can disable that as a next stage, disable the delivery group, and then maybe decommission some machines if my users don't then come screaming, and free up some resources, free up some licenses even. Okay, so that's just an example of a script running. So let's have a look at how that script is set up, because it's quite important if you write your own scripts or you want to modify them. And in terms of PowerShell, it's pretty straightforward in that we don't really have to do anything different PowerShell-wise. So if I go into the script actions pane, and then we find that script that I've just used, here we go. You can see when it was last used. We have version numbering in here as well, and descriptions. So I can actually then click on the edit icon. So we have a number of different dialogues here. General just gives an explanation. Again, you get that when you hover over it to explain actually how the script, well, not so much how the script works, but what the script does, because the name isn't always a great indication of what the script can actually do. Because as you know, if you've ever done any sort of programming, writing the code's the easy bit. The difficult bit is deciding what to call it and what icons to use. Now, we don't have the problem here necessarily with the icons, although we can have custom icons, but that's not that big a deal. But let's try and call our scripts something vaguely meaningful. Then we set where the script runs. So for the script that we ran to show the unused delivery groups, we can see that the delivery controller is actually not the local machine I'm running on. If I go to a local prompt and we look at the local computer name, GRL Jumpo 1, MSTS seed 2, well, MSRD seed 2 actually, which is the AVD client, because that means we can have a resizable window. We look at that, resizable, we can do that with MSTSC, can you? Wow. So we can say what this script is assigned to, as in, do I run it on a machine? Do I run it on a user session? Do I run it on a user process? There's a big choice of things depending on what view you're in within the ControlUp console. As you can see here, we can look at the sessions on a machine. If it was a EUC type environment, which could be on-prem or it could be AVD or Citrix Cloud, could specific processes, if we need to perform actions on those. So we've got a rich set of context, as well as being able to do it on the hypervisors as well, or mixture therein. So you can see there's quite a lot of things we can work on, even now FS Logix disks, for instance. So we can, and AVD specific things. Come back to AVD because there's some of the more interesting scripts I've been writing in the last couple of years. Yes, some scripts are a bit dull, but they need to be done. I came out of the edit there. That was not actually what I intended to do. So what it runs on, what type of objects, where it runs, either on the remote machine like the unused delivery group ones I just showed, runs on the delivery controller that I picked, whether it actually runs where the console is running, which can be useful when you want to display sort of more rich graphics, or you want to do REST calls to Azure REST APIs or other REST APIs like Citrix, or I could run it specifically on another machine. And this is where we also can say what credentials, which again have been set up elsewhere within the ControlUp console. Then the bad boy itself, the script, which, if you know scripts, looks very much like any other script in PowerShell with a param block. So we've actually got named parameters. We can pass some boilerplate code and then just standard PowerShell. You wouldn't generally edit something in here. What I would generally do is actually import a script that I'd written and tested, outside. So here's linking to my client map drive where I store my backed up scripts, so I can import it. There is also a limitation of pasting into this pane of something like 32K, which when I started coding in the 1980s, 3.5K for Commodore VIC-20 was wow. You'd never fill that space. Well, you would actually, but 32K now is quite small, even for some of the scripts. Some are quite large. Analyze log on durations one, which we'll go and have a look at, is over 5,000 lines. Big isn't always the best, but something they can do a lot of work without you having to do a lot of work. That's the key with these scripts. You don't need to run the scripts. You don't even need to have to understand PowerShell. So the arguments or the parameters. So if you remember, we were prompted for the days since last used and the delivery groups. Now, hopefully, Doug, this isn't where we lose a load of people because they see a regular expression and start running away screaming. Again, you as an end user of this don't need to understand the regular expression. That's pretty horrible, that, looking at it, if you don't know regular expressions. But that's actually just making sure we put only digits there, although it can take a decimal number of sub. What am I trying to say? Sure. Amount, so yeah, 0.5 days, for instance. So that's a regular expression for that. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. That's great. Can anybody still hear me? I'm going to turn my camera off just to save a little bit of bandwidth.
Yeah, you've been pretty good, Guy. You right before you mentioned that your internet was unstable, you froze up, but only for about a second or two. Otherwise, you've been good for me. So,
okay, yeah. I knew I was pretty anyway. I didn't know about the good side of things.
Well, that also that is a perk. That is a benefit.
Cool. Okay, thank you for confirming that.
Let's get back to the scripts.
And the script. Oh yeah, the script. Yes, I'm not making it up as I went going along at all. So we see with these were the two arguments that were prompted for when we ran the script, and we can do some input validation. But again, if you're writing your own scripts, you don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. It doesn't, the input validation is just so that you don't put a bad parameter and then the script go and give you, the wrong information. Okay, I can see some questions coming in, Doug. I'll let you deal with those, or I'll come to them at the end. Otherwise, it'll put me off my flow. I can't multitask, unlike my PowerShell scripts. And also, this is where we have what's called a built-in parameter, so that we can actually pass one of many different types of item to the script automatically from ControlUp. Now, this really does come into its own when we pass things like Azure information, your subscription ID, because everybody remembers their Azure subscription ID and tenant IDs off the top of their head, don't they? Because they're GUIDs, which is 8444412 hex characters. I know that because I write regular expressions to match those quite often, which is fun. But even I don't remember GUIDs. If I start remembering GUIDs and SIDs, then it's not good, because I tend to forget why I walked into a room these days. We can pass a whole load of parameters which are there. So let's go and have a look and see what we've actually got. So you see there's two types of parameters when we put a script together. So these, the upper pane is where we have what's available from ControlUp, and this is now a nice long list. So you can see we have Citrix provisioning services specific stuff, FS Logic specific stuff, Citrix virtual apps and desktops, or desktops as a service, or whatever it's going to be called this week. Azure, so we've got Azure subscription IDs, tenant IDs. All these are known by ControlUp. So rather than you having to remember them or copy and paste them, we can pass them automatically from our scripts. So if we go and look at an Azure one, for instance, let's go and have a look at this one, have a look at its arguments. You can see this is fairly typical for Azure scripts. We pass across the Azure ID, which is the /subscription ID, if it's a VM, Microsoft.compute / whatever. Again, that's all known by ControlUp, because we can connect to cloud environments. So you don't have to paste those in when you're running it within the console, and things like the tenant ID. So it's much easier to get that information. Like I say, there's a rich set of those available as well, such as AWS as well, because of course we work with AWS. Other clouds are available. Lots of AVD stuff. There are literally hundreds, as he says, scrolling through. I'm not going to count them, but there's definitely more than 10 different ones which are available. So you can decide what you need. If it's not something that's available there, then you can prompt for it, which is where if we go back to the one I was showing before, use. So we can see these are just manually entered ones where I can put a validation regex in if I want, which is saying it's got to be true or false, but also has to deal with case sensitivity, because unlike PowerShell, regex inside the ControlUp console is case sensitive by default, and then put a validation message out. But again, you don't worry about the regex stuff there. That's the icing on the proverbial cake. Cake. So that's how we set parameters up, and then because of where we've told it to run the script, or copy the script over to the machine, get it into the right user context, run it, and then push the results out to the console, which makes it pretty easy to use. So that we can then, if I want to run a script, let's say we can come down here, we can browse through the scripts, but I mean, there are hundreds of scripts. You can search, which is where I came to the, I knew what I was looking for. We have the virtual expert feature, which when there are what scripts. Oh, my lab's decided to disconnect. Thank you very much. Oh, and it's back. I'm throwing me off my stride. Thank you very much. So if we drill in, we can see the processes, and then if we go to script actions there, the context will change because it's now pulling in the scripts that only work on processes, for instance. So if I the CU monitor, for instance, so if I pick that and then go script actions, identify associated Windows service, we can see, obviously, people when they name, well, I say obviously, developers should, if they're responsible, use a meaningful executable rather than calling it service one. So I seem to be having some network issues. Sorry about that. Seems to be switching to Wi-Fi and then back to wired, but hey, don't you just love these challenges? Yes, thank you for telling me my internet is unstable. I shall keep prattling away, hopefully talking into the void. But if we didn't know what service it was, or it was a third party, we weren't sure what it was, sorry. Sorry, just having a non-alcoholic drink, honestly. Oh, it's getting very dry and hot over here, which is unusual for the UK. So that was a process context script. So it says, okay, and that was passing the script, the name of the process into the script, and process ID. Again, it's all hidden from view. Remember, I didn't select any parameters there. It tells me what it is. And some of these, if I look at it, and if it's taking a lot, that's quite a large working set, as in 3 and a bit gig, which isn't actually unusual, I'm told. But what I can actually do then is, so some scripts can be purely passive, some can be active as well, as in they'll actually perform some tasks. Now, the downside is you won't actually get any output, even if you have outputs during the script where it says write output, finding the service, starting the service. It won't actually come up until the script's finished. So you can see in 18 seconds, what it's done is found the process, or rather found the service behind the process in the script, and then restarted that instance of that particular service. Now, again, if it had arguments to the service, it would pass those through as well. So again, we don't have to think, oh, what service is that? Right, now I need to go to service view, and it's, again, hopefully you're getting the idea where we can just make things simple. So again, if you've got help desk people, you can give them something like this. If you know a particular service can get high in terms of working set or other things, we can even set automated actions on these, so we can trigger on specific items and then get them to automatically run the script, so they don't have to be manual. So you can have 24/7 not just monitoring, but also built-in remediation. Okay, so let's have a look at the anatomy of a script. Go back to here. So here's a simple one that's I've not actually run it yet. Let's again give an example. Let's go back to, I'm going to double click on that machine, and spell license. I won't put a C or an S so that it's going to work multinationally. Let's go and show me how many days to expiry. I think I've used a large number, 600, just for demonstration purposes. So that's going to go and query my Citrix licenses and check when they expire, and also the license counts. In case you are going to exceed those license counts, you'll get a bit of grace period, which is built into the newer CVAD versions. But at some point, if you were always over consuming, it would come back and give you an error. So here we can see it's gone and found a license server. So the license server isn't actually that machine. So I've run it against DDC02, but it's actually gone and found the license server is DDC01. So you don't even have to know where the license server is in your environment. Handy if you've just inherited a Citrix environment. And then it will go and look at those licenses. So very similar to the studio view, but again, in one place, and will also tell us, there's an alert. Now, the alert is either when it's exceeded the available count, or it's within that number of days. So yeah, it's within 600 days to March or April 2024. So again, that's why I use the 600 days idea there. So if we look at that script, here it is in good old PowerShell ISE. Guy, why aren't you using VS Code like all the cool kids do? Lowest common denominator. I know it's always going to be there. I still do some coding on customer systems. And that's my excuse anyway. I'm sticking to it. And I had problems with VS Code now and again. But again, it doesn't really matter what the tool. Use the tool that you're most comfortable with. And do things your way. We're not forcing any new ways or means onto people. This is a pretty standard PowerShell script. Commandlet binding means we can use minors verbose and nice built-in mechanisms like this. A parameter block. But again, this means we can also use the script externally, so outside of ControlUp if we want. And we'll see that with the world-famous analyze logon duration script in a little bit. And then we have a bit of boilerplate ControlUp stuff. We have some scripting standards we try and adhere to give some consistency across our scripts. And then we have some actual code, which is the exciting bit. Oh, look at all that red and blue, isn't that nice? But that, again, you don't have to worry about how that code works. The fact that it's in the ControlUp library means it's been through a QA process, and it will work. If you have problems, again, if you've got a ControlUp support agreement, go through to ControlUp support for that. We try and help in the community as well. So there's the ControlUp community that Doug mentioned. If you've got problems with scripts there or ideas for scripts there, feel free to share them or ask away. One of the good things there is you can say, oh, wouldn't it be good if we had a script for such and such? And then somebody goes, look, yes, we've got it already. Like I said, you can search in the console itself, in the script pane, just by searching for some keywords in here, or you can go out to the ControlUp script library, which I should have in a Windows somewhere here. I'll just move that over here. So this is controlup.com/scripts. So you can see we've got 406 scripts. So you can search you can either go by the tags here that we've got on the left, or just any full text items. So if we search for analyze, spelt the American way. I did try and use the UK version once, but I was overruled. Notice we've got various analyze ones, but analyze logon duration, which is the famous one with a mere 41,000 downloads. I'm not the creator. I am the inheritor and keeper. We keep adding features as and when they come along, either become available from the EUC vendors like Citrix and VMware and Microsoft, or people in the community have ideas, or we have ideas ourselves. So again, if there's something in the analyze logon duration script that you don't see that you think would be useful, please do share the idea in the forum. If we look at the forums, if I can find them. Where have they gone? They've gone into that window. Ooh, let me resize that. So you can see we've got a number of channels here within the ControlUp community. I won't go and look at my direct messages at the moment, just in case it has something which is not suitable for maybe many people I know watching this. But you see, I've got these starred, so I keep an eye on them. Again, it's all best endeavour stuff, but we take pride in what we do, so we'll try and analyse and what people have said and report back to them. So this is a good place to share your own community, ideas for scripts or ones you've even created yourself. I will post some that I've been working on. I'm a little bit overdue. There's a few more I've got ready to go here. So I do appreciate people having a play with them, sort of beta test, but also to see if it's going to be useful for something you're going to solve. Okay. So let's have a look at this analyze log on duration one, because it's quite an interesting one from a technical perspective. And let me show you how we run it outside of ControlUp. So I'm on my local machine here, which happens to be where I'm running the console as well. And I'm going to cheat, so I'm good at that. And actually, I've run this before through a client map drive. So I've just used PowerShell's search ability. So rather than pressing cursor up 417 times, I can just hit Control-R and enter a search term. So I search for ALD, which is the analyze log on duration script, which we can find in here. Not leave it as anal. Let's have a look. Have I got one in my drafts? Nope. That's always good. There's usually some work in progress going on with it. And we can see if we a lot of notes and some parameters. But fortunately, even though these parameters again you'll see in the argument block here, there's actually only one mandatory parameter for the script to actually get it to do something, which is a domain/username. So that's exactly the same script, unmodified as it is in the console. We'll run that, and hopefully within a few tens of your Earth seconds, it should come up with some results. And there we go. So we can see for this username, which happens to be my user here, who logged on at 11:05. Notice query user doesn't even give you the number of seconds passed. Here we give you a little bit more granularity. That was 8 days ago. But you can see we can still get that information as well, because we're looking at event logs mostly for this sort of stuff. So that's giving me that information, exactly the same sort of information I could get if I went to that machine. Let's jump one, one of my many jump boxes. So I can go to that context, go look at sessions, and go run it from here. The parameters look a little bit fugly, shall we say, and because of some shortcomings in earlier versions of the console, which are now fixed. So you can see same script again, the 11:05, but this time running inside the console. Yeah, so same results. So that's how I can run a script. And that's typically how I develop a script. So when I develop a script, I will actually run it in PowerShell ISE on the machine where I'm going to target the action and then test it. So I actually don't pull it into the console until I'm ready with a script that I know is going to work. So I would come in here, go new script, call it something meaningful, Guy's demo stuff. So it doesn't get much more meaningful than that. See, I could change the icon if I wanted to, all the important stuff, put a description in to help people understand what the script actually does, so they don't need to read the script. Like I said, you don't need to be a scripter to be able to run this stuff. What it's going to run on, Excuse me, sorry. This is where again, we don't write the script in this pane, and I'd advise against pasting into it because we can have problems. I would just import from somewhere that I've got the script saved securely. So this is actually synced to my OneDrive, as well as to a GitHub repo. Sorry, excuse me again. Let's actually pick another script, so I can just import any script. Again, this is one where I haven't actually put a comment block in yet, so this isn't ready for release. Comment block is always like the documentation for anything. It's always the last thing you do generally. Well, it's the way I work anyway. So I've got the script in there. We have to pick another couple of things. So what is it? Is it one of these legacy batch or CMD scripts? I mean, sometimes it does make sense a CMD if it's something very short, because the startup time of PowerShell can be a few seconds, whereas startup time of a CMD processor is measured in milliseconds. And if there are some old scripts from VBS. I mean, I didn't get into PowerShell until 2014 or so, and it's been around since about 2008, 7, something like that. I'm sure somebody on the call will probably know better than me. I'll be able to Google it. Other search engines are available. How long do you want the script to run for? How long do I make it run for? How long is a piece of string? Well, 30 centimeter piece of string is 30 centimeters. So can the script take a long time? It depends. If it's an Azure script, yes, it might have delays going out to Azure. Azure might be having one of its go slow days, hours, minutes, or whatever else. So this is really suck it and see. 60 seconds is the default. Sometimes 60 seconds is more than enough, particularly if everything's being done on-prem. Sometimes if there's a lot of work being done via the script, so again, I'll show you another one in a moment, there's a lot of low-level stuff, then it might need 600 seconds, which is 10 of your Earth minutes. And then what do we do if it does reach a timeout? Sometimes, particularly if it's a non-passive script, so it might be changing something, deleting something, it's probably best to return and leave it running. Otherwise, if it is just a purely passive one, then probably to kill it, so to tidy up and not leave something which might consume CPU or memory running on a machine. Because we can run scripts on the same scripts on multiple machines, again from one invocation. If we want, we can just select particular infrastructure folder or top level, select a number of machines and run the same script against multiple machines, and the ControlUp console will bring those results together. So I could go and query 5 delivery controllers for problems at the same time and so on. And then also what to do if someone's asked to run it again. And again, if it's passive, then you can probably say, well, we'll probably run it again, but maybe it's going to take up a load of CPU and memory. So maybe you say, well, it's still running, then I'll say, no, don't run it again. And again, if it's non-passive, so it's actually going to change something, then probably best to not run it, because you don't want 2 things trying to change the same things running potentially in parallel. And then some arguments, as we saw before, either from the rich set of built-in ones from ControlUp or our own, which we can put a meaningful caption in for, as in, what does that actually mean? And a tip there is, if you're asking for a duration, let the person know whether it's hours, minutes, seconds, light years, or whatever else, so they don't think, well, is that seconds or is that minutes? And you could get something wrong by a factor of several thousand, might cause a few problems depending on what it does. Always have a default parameter as well, number of days back, 1 or 30, whatever makes sense of what it is you're running. And that's it. Once we've done that, we'll finish the script and it's ready to run. It will be in your drafts section over here, so that when you pick a machine to run on, you'll see the word draft or draft for those in the south of England. So you can see that I've actually got a released version of that. How do I know it's released? Because it doesn't say draft. And then a draft is a one that's my work in progress. So what it means is you can be fixing a script, developing the next version of it. So this is my own home lab environment, so there's only me, but I also have access to the various ControlUp demo environments where somebody might be using the analyze log on duration for a customer demonstration, but I might want to then put the next version through its paces and be adding new features. So I can do that without breaking it, because I can have my own private draft version, so nobody else can see those, whilst other people are there ready to use the release one, which I haven't broken yet. That good strong QA process means we don't put out broken scripts ever, honestly. Yes, good job I turned my camera off. Okay, and that's how we get the scripts into the library. If we want to get the scripts out of the library, so if I want to share it, for instance, if I'm going to put it into the community, then I can just do an export, and that exports it to XML, because that will wrap the script itself, plus the parameters, the description, credentials, as in who it's going to run as. It doesn't actually embed the credentials. We don't have any username or passwords in these for obvious reasons, because they'll be different between different machine or different customer environments anyway. But once I've got it as an XML file, I can then share that. So that's the file that I would post to the community, for instance. And then if you take one of those XML files that you've saved, then you can literally just go import, browse to the XML file, and it will pull that in for you. And then you'll be able to see the script itself. So if you wanted to modify one of the existing scripts, then you just go into edit script, put it, select all, copy, paste it into your whatever, and then you can save that, mess about with it. You can add new features to it if you wanted, and keep it in your own environment, or you could post it back to the community through Slack and say, hey, I've done these modifications, what do you think? If you want to do that. So that's how we get scripts in and out of the library. Okay, Doug, how am I doing for time, if there's anybody still there? This is where I find I've been talking to thin air for the best part of 50 minutes.
No, you have a good audience here. I think they're still with us. That they haven't dropped, but you have a good audience here, and you have about 10 questions.
10 questions? Oh, I've only got 4 answers, so.
But you have 9 minutes, so you can maybe come up with some others. Actually, one of them is a comment, and that is about chat. And I need to figure out why chat isn't working. I thought it was working this time, and it's still not. So the next meetup, we will have chat enabled if it kills me.
You heard it first. I promise chat will work.
I like having chat. I like having the chat. There's always a little chit chat going on, but it is more important to pay attention to the presenter. So the next question. You want me to read them to you?
I'm just reading through them. I can see Roy Bleak has posted an issue he has. It's probably better to take that in the community itself, actually.
Why don't you go through them? But go through them one at a time, if you would.
Yeah. Oh, shall I bring? Can I do that? Am I breaking GDPR?
Oh, we can't see it.
Oh, you can't see. Oh, this is.
No. I think it is the GDPR.
Oh no, we don't want to present.
But I mean, you can call out their name. You can say, "Hey, Doug," which the guy's name is actually Doug. I'm Doug too.
Yeah, there's asking about my views on ISE. Again, I do use VS Code if I'm doing PowerShell. Again, do I do much PowerShell 7 stuff for ControlUp? No, because generally I get shouted at by. So they say, well, we've got this customer and he's only using PowerShell version 2 and you want to use all this fancy PowerShell 7 stuff. Please make it work on the older versions. So at some point, Windows PowerShell, which is currently at 5.1, will die. It is deprecated, as in Microsoft are not developing it any further. There will not be a 5.1. 6, yes, well, 6 has already been and gone. The core PowerShell, also known as PowerShell Core, is 7.3.4 or something like that, which we support in ControlUp. but we're not doing so yet because most people still seem to have got Windows PowerShell on their back end. But certainly part of our coding standards now is to make sure that our scripts are going to be able to run with PowerShell 7 as well. And whether that's developing in VS Code or ISE, again, doesn't matter. I'm just scrolling up through the questions, mostly to Google. Yeah, question about Google Cloud. I don't know about Google Cloud, actually. I do apologize, but like I say, I don't know the products so well. I just do the scripty stuff underneath. I haven't written anything for GCP, but it doesn't mean we don't support it. But I can get someone to answer that, unless there's a ControlUp person on the call, but I probably bored them all away.
Well, we don't have chat, so nobody can post the answer.
Yeah.
Blame me.
Yeah, somebody asking about passing of arguments. Is there a plan to allow prompting? Well, we do allow prompting, but not with the automated actions. So we're working on that at the moment. But they will prompt when you're running them interactively. So from the console, it will prompt, as we saw when I ran. What did I run? Yeah, the analyze. No, not the analyze log on duration. The one for. Let's get rid of that because that's a blocking. Oh yeah, that's something else to watch out for. Why can't I do anything in the console? Because that's blocking. Sometimes this is behind and you don't see it, so I have to cancel out all of these. So if I run we'll see that it does prompt if my mouse decides to start working. Thank you. So it does prompt, but if I want to do this as an automated action to email this to somebody, then currently I don't think we support that, but that is being worked on, because again, we want to be able to turn things like this into automated reporting so that you can get an email once a week saying, are you going to have licenses that expire, Citrix licenses that expire within the next 30 days? Although if they're within 30 days, you've probably left it a little bit late. It can take a while to get these new licenses, depending on your provider. There's a question about including scripts in PowerShell. So a script calling a script. Yes, but either you'd have to hard code the path or assume it was always going to be there. Or some of my scripts, I don't do this a lot, can actually download from GitHub. But again, you've got to be a little bit careful of your customer's security stance, because do you really want us downloading scripts from GitHub, which we hope are legal, decent, honest and truthful, hoping they haven't been hacked, and then running them as a system on your domain with 10,000 plus users. So it's possible, or it's even possible to embed binaries and other things within the scripts if you need to. But now we have something within the latest 8.8 product, so I'm not really well enough on board to talk about yet, but in terms of a new feature. But it's where you can call scripts from within the product. So we have the ability to what are called CU actions, ControlUp actions, to call those from within other scripts. So you've got the power of those scripts. But again, you don't need to hard code paths or anything like that. You can literally just query the monitor and say, hey, what scripts have I got? Oh, here's one with Citrix in. Yeah, I'm going to call that one. There's a question about update the console to better manage script actions. Whether the console we're seeing here is going to be replaced by web consoles longer term. Again, I'm not in good position to be able to talk about that because it's a product feature rather than a script feature. But this, if you like, fat client GUI Win32 app is going to be replaced by, or it's already being replaced by a web console. I think that's me through the questions. Apologies if I've missed some of them or if I don't know the answers. But if there are specific ones, then feel free to ping me, directly on the community. So there's one about a particular script problem and exactly where we've got the community there. So if it's not a ControlUp script where you can't say, well, you provided this script, it's causing me a problem, then what we can actually do is to do some unofficial support within the community itself. Again, no SLAs on that, but there's a lot of keen people, myself included. We do occasionally sleep, but sleep's overrated, isn't it? You humans.
Sleep faster.
Yes, somebody's asking about Carl Webster's documentation scripts. They can be, in fact, some of the scripts within ControlUp are based on Carl's work, although he is retiring from keeping those scripts updated on the 1st of July this year, if you didn't know already, although I have been bequeathed those scripts for my sins, so further updates to those are likely to come, but from myself and a few others who've been added to those GitHub repos. But yeah, any script you want can be added in here. You just have to think, what are the inputs and what are the outputs? But just make sure you've got a test environment or test machines where you can test things, particularly if they're not passive, before you go and run it on a live environment with 1,000 machines. And then you find it, doesn't actually do what I wanted. It does something completely different. And if that's destructive, yes, that could be a bad thing.
Yeah, and Guy, and everybody out there, I love all these questions. Please feel free to ask these within the community too. Like Guy said, we'll try our best to answer them. And if it's a script related question, or Brian asked a question as to the script library also coming to HDX. These are great questions for the community because they not only will you get an answer, other people see them too. That's the piece I love so much. So,
absolutely. Yeah, there's another question about installing multiple MSI files silently. Again, very easy to put a script together for that. If somebody dropped an idea for that into the script ideas, then I could come out with that within.
Did we answer Brian's question though? Is the script library also coming to HDX?
I thought you just wanted me to sort of and just.
I don't know the answer. I'm.
Answer the question. I don't know. Did I answer the question? I can't remember what the question was.
The question is the script library also coming to HDX?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So there you go, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not a massive user yet of HDX, but I'm pretty certain it is. I do get shouted at occasionally when I produce compatible with it.
Cool. Well, hey, we're at the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and call this thing quits. So, Guy, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Everyone attended. We had a great turnout today. I thank you all for attending. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please let us know. If you did not, please definitely let us know and let us know how we can make these things better for you. If you have ideas for topics, for events, please let me know. Send me a DM on Slack or email me db@controlup.com and give me a subject and I'll make it happen. If you'd like to hear from someone within the company, let me know and we'll make that happen. So Guy, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. Absolutely wonderful. I love it. We'll have to do it again. Maybe we can do a deep dive or something.
For bringing me on, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to fill an hour, and
Yeah, you can talk about. You can tell. I've seen you present at E2E.
Don't panic. Yeah, very important.
I don't quit. I restart. I wore this just for Guy. So I'm here in Florida. It's my last day. I'm catching a flight to Berlin this afternoon. But I have in my closet here. It's all my clothes I had before moving to Berlin, which is 9 years ago. So and it's all the stuff I didn't want to bring. So it's like a lot of conference T-shirts. A lot of it's very historic to walk through because I'm a man. I never throw away anything, right? So I have T-shirts that are 30 years old in there. And it's sort of cool. I'll be sad to leave it when I get rid of this place, but yeah, I'm never gonna wear this stuff. Just for you, Guy. Just for you.
feel privileged.
On that note, thank you all for attending this ControlUp Community Meetup.